people are so wildly misinformed. They think the
Yeah.
COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act is specifically and only for Asian Americans. It's
Yeah.
not true. Break it down for us, Reese, please.
And this is like day 4 of this, and I'm like,
Yes.
people are so tethered to being. I don't even know if it's upset, but just trying to just have a grievance over this COVID-19 hate crimes bill. Here's the thing: Black people, we do have plenty of reasons to be upset about plenty of things in this country. This bill is not one of those things.
Right.
Mm.
It's not one of
Right.
those things. One of the things I do before I even get into the details, stop saying they didn't have to do this and they didn't have to do that for the bill. Did y'all not see 8 Asian people gunned down at multiple nail salons or massage parlors or whatever? Y'all missed that whole part? Y'all missed
Mm.
Asian people getting knocked upside their head for the past year behind this damn pandemic? You don't think
Trump
that?
saying Chinese virus. Mm.
Yes, y'all missed all of that. They have spilled blood for even just an acknowledgement. And that's essentially what is happening in this COVID-19 hate crimes bill. There's in most bills, if y'all have ever go to congress.gov and looked up a bill instead of just read what's on the meme, you would see that there's usually some background included
Right.
in the bill, and there's some text, and then senators who champion the bills put out press releases, and so all of that context goes into how the bill is talked about. And in that background, it talks about how Asian Americans have been targeted with hate crimes as a result of the COVID-19 virus, going back to like Clay just said, it being called the Wuhan virus or the China virus. So that's the context of the bill and the attack, the mass shooting on Asian Americans. But the actual text of the bill, the actual mechanics of the bill, what it does is it creates a new employee singular, DOJ employee, that's going to quote unquote expedite review of hate crimes. Okay. That's all hate crimes. It doesn't say only COVID-19 crimes. Of course, that would be a priority, but all hate crimes get expedited under this new DOJ employees review. It also issues guidance to state and local governments and police officers or whatever the case may be about just identifying hate-based crimes as it relates to the pandemic. Okay, so what it's not doing is it's not saying here's a new bill that only Asian Americans count if it's a hate crime. It's not saying screw all the hate crimes that happen for everybody else. All we care about is Asian hate crime. Okay, it's not saying that. All right, it's not creating a brand new class of protection. Every single thing in this bill would apply to a hate crime against any person on the basis of race or the other different protected classes of hate crimes. So what I need Black people, what I need y'all to stop doing is stop being mad about stuff that's not in competition with anything that we have going on, that's not in opposition to anything that we have going on, and stop saying that they didn't have to do anything to get the bill when there was their blood spilled over their bill. Now, is our blood spilled every day, all day? Yes.
Yes.
But if your specific issue is they got a hate crime bill, where's a hate crime bill? Did you miss the Civil Rights Act of 1968? That's the Title One is about hate crimes specifically for Black people. Now, does it say only Black people? No, just like this bill doesn't say only Black people. If you want to talk about hate crime bills against for as it relates to Black people, there's the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. hate crime
That's
bill
right.
of 2009 that was attached to the
That's right.
National Defense Authorization that President Obama signed. And so
Yes.
there are hate crime bills for Black people,
And James
including
James
this one.
Byrd James Byrd Jr. is the black man who was lynched in Texas. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Yes,
Reese.
yes, yes. So we already have our hate crime bill. Okay. So that's not a battle that we have to fight again. Okay. It shouldn't be a problem to acknowledge that Asian Americans have been targeted because it's true. All right. Now we have bills that are still being adjudicated in Congress. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act has passed the Congress and the House of Representatives for the second time. And now
Mm-hmm.
there's negotiations going on, bipartisan negotiations going on for that. Now people are saying, where's our George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? I agree with you. That's where we have to step it up. We squandered the momentum behind That bill in 2020, last year, when it was introduced by Vice President Kamala Harris, who was then Senator, and Cory Booker and Karen Bass and the CBC, and all y'all MFers wanted to talk about was the kente cloth that they were wearing and saying it's performative. Oh, they're being insulting and blah 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 blah. Y'all wasn't talking about the ban on chokeholds, which is what would have, which is what happened with Eric Garner or George Floyd. Y'all weren't talking about the no-knock warrants, which is what happened with Breonna Taylor. Y'all weren't talking about the National Registry of Police Misconduct, which is what would have prevented Tamir Rice's killer from getting another job. And that's countless stories of that across the country. Y'all didn't want to talk about the details. You want to talk about the kente cloth. So don't be mad when the Asian American community sees their blood being spilled and they say enough is enough. We want to see some action on that, and they galvanize behind it. And I'm not saying that there weren't any Black people that didn't galvanize. I'm not saying look at the Asians, they do it better than we do. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, don't sit up here now and bitch about why we don't have our shit passed. When our shit came out, y'all wasn't down for it. You were down for getting viral tweets and going viral on Twitter and seeing getting scoring woke points. That's what you were down for. And now a year later, we're in the same damn boat with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. The last thing I'll say is people have also brought up lynching. Why is it lynching a crime? 200 attempts have been made in Congress to pass anti-lynching legislation. The same Kamala Harris that y'all say she don't do nothing for the Blacks, she don't acknowledge racism against Black people. She's the one who championed the anti-lynching legislation when she got to Congress, and she got it to the point where it passed 2 times in the Senate unanimously. Then it passed in the House. And so once it did that, it came back to the Senate. Rand Paul filibustered it.
That's right.
Rand Paul filibustered it. And I remember when Kamala Harris, then Senator, got on there and ripped Rand Paul a new asshole. Her and Cory Booker did. All of Black Twitter, all of y'all talking about this Asian American hate crime bill, all of y'all should have been sitting up there ripping Rand Paul's ass apart last year when it was damn near unanimous support for it in both chambers, and he filibustered it, and you didn't do it. So we have nobody but ourselves to blame when we continue to fail to galvanize around our issues, and when we choose weak points and viral tweets over action and over advocacy and over pressing on our issues. So we need to get this damn George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which does include anti-lynching legislation. But we got to be responsible for it and quit trying to say, look at what the Asians got. Look at what the LGBT community got. Where's our Black shit? We got to make it happen. And the last thing I'll say, sorry, is that there are more Black people in Republican districts and Republican Senate states. We have high concentrations where there are 2 Republican senators. Y'all Black people, get on the phone with your senators. Pressure them. They have to document people that are calling them, how many times they called. They have to do that. And so it's not a lost cause, but we continue to squander opportunities. In this case, I don't want to say it's an opportunity because it would be disgusting to say that. But what I will say is when the Asian American community was under siege by their, rightfully so, feeling that way, they took action. We got to do the same thing for ourselves instead of complaining that they got something, which isn't even actually true, that we didn't get. And that's it. I'm sorry.
Right.
Listen, let me add this really quick. Just so folks know, most police jurisdictions around the country, they report 0 hate crimes every year. 0. So what Reese just broke down, what this COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act does is it forces law enforcement to report actual hate crimes. So the Department of Justice will work with local law enforcement to make it easier to report hate crimes because it's so hard to report a hate crime, maybe online in different languages. So it provides more data to the federal government. Who is the group that is the number 1 victim of hate crimes? African Americans, Black Americans, Black. That we are the number 1 victim. So I thank you for breaking that down. It's important that we understand this is a good thing that we will benefit from. And it can't be, and I know, and I understand y'all. Like, I sometimes feel like if the word Black isn't in the title of the bill, people are like, oh, well, it's not specific. But like you said, you can go to .gov and read every single bill. I mean,
Mhm.
for the most part, the way a bill works, that there's going to be something there's going to be something specific laid out,
Yeah.
but many bill it targets one group, but it'll help a bunch of other folks as well.
Right.
So I just think it's really, and let's go to the 1968 hate crime statute. That is part of the reason why we have this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all interconnected. But thank you for breaking that down. And the misinformation, and
Oh,
Roland Martin brought this up. There are people, I don't want to say their names, but they're not Democrat, or I don't know what they are, or Republican, but they just got a YouTube channel and they babble and they're loud and wrong. And folks are just like, yeah, go ahead. You said it. Oh, you right, you right. And I'm like, they don't even know how Congress works.
yeah.
So yeah, David.
Can I just say
Oh,
one
God,
more thing?
please,
The one more thing I want
please.
to say is being pro facts is not being pro Democrat or being pro Biden.
Right,
You
right.
can find something to be mad about. There are plenty of things to be mad about, but just because
Because
I'm
you're critical of
correcting,
Democrats.
yes,
Yeah,
just because I'm correcting the record doesn't mean I'm pro Biden or I'm pro Democrat. It
right.
just means educate yourself and be informed. And if you want to find something to be mad about something that you got to be mad about instead of being fake mad about something that ain't even nothing to be mad about. That's all I'm saying.
You were just calling out Chuck Schumer on Twitter about
Yeah.
the filibuster. Like,
Yes.
what happened to filibuster reform? Okay, if you can't get rid of it, what happened to having to go to the floor? You were just saying, Reese, somebody tweeted me that you, Amisha Cross, and my girl Alexa are Democratic operatives. I said, oh, for real? I
Okay.
said, for real? I said, here we go. Okay,
Where's my check?
go. Exactly. Where's the check? Go ahead, David. Go ahead, brother.
So Reese is on one today. Reese is on fire. She's
All
already
right.
dropped 2 MFs, which made my day. I
It
I
like
does
said
that.
make my day.
MF, not MFer all the way.
Okay, no, no,
I abbreviated it.
no. You said it once.
I did say it once.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
which
right.
which I enjoyed personally. I'm over 21. I enjoyed it.
That's
Okay.
my favorite word.
All right. So you're a hard act to follow, so I don't have too much more to add. A couple of basic points that just I think dovetail with everything you already broke down.
Mhm.
Um, Black voters, Asian voters, white voters are not going to get everything they want out of any administration.
Right.
In this case, and I'm not taking away from Reese's point that the hate crime law in this case is not just for Asian Americans, but let's say it was a big priority for Asian Americans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's something the Asian American community got over the finish line
Mhm.
early in this administration.
Mhm.
As Reese said, there are agenda items that are near and dear to Black voters that may or may not get over the finish line. And if none of them get across, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
you can't expect every agenda item to get over. So it's not for me to say what the top 5 agenda items for the black electorate are, but let's say one of them is the George Floyd Policing Act. Let's say one of them is um, it, you know strengthening Obamacare. Let's say one of them is child tax credit, whatever what let's say one of them is supporting Palestinians. I don't know. The point is you're going to push, as Reese was saying, the administration, which Black people voted overwhelmingly for Biden Harris, to get as many things across the finish line. And if they do, they do. And if they don't, then you take that in consideration the next time around you vote. But as Reese said, it's not a zero sum where if some other community's priority comes up in the queue first for a whole bunch of reasons, it's not that, oh, it's a sellout to Black voters and they're kowtowing to or kowtow, I don't mean to use that word. They're bending over backwards for a different community. That's not how politics works. And uh how can I say this? Um sorry. You have you It's not a perfect system. And if people are like Reese said, trying to go out there and claim everything as a sellout or a double cross or see they
Mhm.
don't do anything, they're misunderstanding that even though we just spent the first part of this hour talking about Vice President Harris being Black, being South Asian, she's the vice president of the whole country. President Biden is the president of the whole country. And they're going to look at different constituencies and different issues. And if you're dissatisfied come 2023, 2024, then make a decision. I will say The one thing I can safely say was the top line issue for Black voters, 90% of Black voters, was getting rid of President Trump. They already accomplished that. That was the number one issue for Black
Well,
voters, and
also,
they already got that done.
well, also, I do want to add the settlement for Black farmers. I know people
5
forget about
billion.
that, but that 5 billion, that was really huge. That
Yeah,
was a big deal for me. His first week in office, they started the racial equity task force.
Systemic.
Yeah,
Changing systems, changing a white supremacist policing practice throughout the entire country is a big lift. It's a heavy lift. Saying, let's get a guy at the DOJ to review cases and let's issue some bulletins in police departments is not a big lift. I'm not trying to diminish the significance of it, but it's not as big of a lift. So it's apples and oranges. You
yeah,
cannot get a whole system reformed with everything that's entrenched against it and everything that's entrenched inside of it with the snap of a finger. And so
right.
you cannot compare apples to oranges in this
Right.
case.
The
And it's
Obama. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Reese.
and the one thing I would say too is we have had criminal justice reform, the First Step Act. I mean, well, that's not the Sentencing Reform Act that nobody remembers that Obama did.
2010 Fair
2010.
Sentencing
They
Act.
always
Yes,
forget
Fair
that,
Sentencing Act. We
which
have the Civil
specifically
Rights Act.
affected Black people. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
we have all of these things that are in effect. But the thing is, no matter what bill you pass, it's not a silver bullet. We're still going to have racism. We're still going to have white supremacy. We're still going to have injustice. But what we try to do is we try to fix the systems as much as we can.